welcome to the Rant podcast. That was a strange hello, wasn't it? Hello! My name's Scott and I'm going to be your host today as I talk about kind of whatever I feel like. I haven't done a just throwing thoughts out video here on YouTube for a very, very long time. Those of you who are familiar with our podcast, Rant Podcast Horror Movie Review or Rant Podcast True Crime, will be very familiar with me going on a rant and going on a tangent. And here on YouTube, I tend to try and stay really structured. And I don't know why I do that, because no one's watching the videos when I'm trying to be structured and trying to follow that path that every other YouTuber does, because it's kind of what we all think hits. You want to see movie reviews. You want to see us talk about specific trailer, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to kind of start bringing you some more videos where it's just me, no script, no plan, no clue, a little bit like my life really, and just throw out some thoughts into the universe and see what comes back. And I'm going to start with Nosferatu. So we recently reviewed this on the show, and the full episode's available on YouTube where we do a full deep dive into the movie with loads of facts and loads of other bits. But I want to ask a question. Just because you make a movie that's really well written and looks beautiful, does that instantly give you a good movie? Because there are lots of movies like this that they look stunning. Like Nosferatu is a prime example of a movie that is so well shot and so visually captivating, incorporating parts of every single vampire movie and lore. There's bits of the Bram Stoker's Dracula. There's scenes that are almost mirrored from there. There's scenes that are mirrored from the original 1931 Dracula. There are nods to Nosferatu in some of the colour palettes. And visually, it's so exciting. But only if you're a film nerd and you get all of these references and you go, oh, that's the orange that one of the cuts of Nosferatu was in. Oh, that's the blue that one of the other cuts was in. If you're not a nerd and you're a general moviegoer and you don't have all that back knowledge, yes, it looks beautiful. Yes, the casting is impeccable. The casting across the board in this movie is fantastic. There's not a single person I could say they're not great. I'm not the biggest fan of Nicholas Hoult, but he's good in this movie. Bill Skarsgård is good in this movie. And for me, what makes this movie not a good movie and a really boring movie is it is a remake of Nosferatu from 1922. And I love remakes. The best type of remakes are the type of remakes that take original source material, they adapt that into a new format, adding new story elements, giving us enough nostalgia that we go, oh, that's cool, oh, that's great. And then adding something new that we're like, that is really different and it works. A good example of this is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 2003. Kept a lot of the gritty vibes and the underlying story, but introduced new factions like the outside family and the baby and all these extra bits that just added to that story that made that particularly a good remake. And in Nosferatu, they don't do any of that. What they do is they add this weird kind of psychic connection that has been insinuated in the past. But for the most part, this is the Dracula tale. So for those of you who don't know, Nosferatu is a rip-off of Bram Stoker's Dracula, the book. So much so that the widow of Bram Stoker sued them. And they had to destroy all of the copies, which is why we have multiple copies today that are all slightly different colour rendered, because it's kind of what people salvaged and put together. And the Dracula story it's not like remaking an obscure movie from the 80s or even a popular movie from the 80s. The story of Dracula is ingrained in pop culture in every single possible facet that it could be. Movies, books, TV series. Like, that vampire lore is so well established, and that story of the guy going out to meet Dracula and they sign in the contracts because Dracula wants to move to London, and then the attraction to his life. All of this stuff we all know it. There is nothing in there that we do not know, and we cannot regurgitate the story of Dracula in a basic form. And I think that's across the board, whether you're 60 or 16, everybody knows that basic story of Dracula. So why, for God's sake, did they just do that same story? There's no new elements. There is nothing here that made me go, oh, wow, that's really cool. And I don't know why they've done that. It's so authentic to parts of the book and to the original Nosferatu, which is wonderful. But it's just a modern remake. It's just a carbon copy, just polished up. The original Nosferatu also done things better. So, for example, the shadow play. So you see the shadows going across the wall. In the original Nosferatu, watching that being made in 1920 or 1921 when they filmed it, that is incredible, because you go, how did they do that with the technology at the time? Now watching it in this modern adaptation, where you've got a bigger shadow going all the way across the city and lurking up the walls, it's not impressive anymore, because I know how you've done it. You've done it using digital effects, and that, to me, detracts from what you're trying to pay homage to, because you've just digitally recreated it, and I think it's lazy. And I think this movie could have been so much better. And this is what leads me into my next rant, which is kind of my big rant that why I'm here, is people just taking stuff and going, this is fabulous because it's so pretty. When you boil it down and you pick it apart, it's not actually that great. And there's so much of this, especially in the art house horror world. So things like The Lighthouse is an exceptionally well written and well crafted movie, but it's not a scary horror movie. And people have reviewed this going, scariest horror I've ever seen, but it's not. And like Midsommar's got a huge legion of fans that say it's the best thing ever. But when you boil it down to bare bones, it's a longer, duller version of The Wicker Man from the 1970s. And there's so many movies like this, and it just really irritates me. I sound like Homer Simpson, Joe, it really grinds my gears. But it does. It really annoys me that there's this just wave of people, and it starts with the people who get pre-advanced screenings. And I've got nothing against these people, but there tends to be people who get the advanced screenings of movies, come out and go, this is the best thing ever, and they put it all across their YouTube and all across their social media, and then other people go, oh, well, they said it's good, I'm going to go and watch it. And then they come out and they go, oh, I don't really like that, but that person said it was good and all the reviews say it was great. And then they post a review saying, this movie's really cool, I really like it. And they highlight all the good things that it does, which I think is fabulous. But they never focus on any of the things that aren't that good. And I get it, everyone wants to be positive about movies and positive about the future of horror. But look at 2025. We have a slew of remakes, sequels and reboots. There are hardly any true original content coming out this year. Another movie that's also a terrible reboot, and it's really annoyed me, is Wolfman. I'm going to save that. I'm actually going to do a video review of Wolfman, but Wolfman is awful. And it didn't have to be. It's just lazy writing, and this is a rant. I'm kind of going to end my rant there because I've never done a rant video here on YouTube. I might just get a slew of comments absolutely crucifying me. I might not. Some of you might agree with me. This video may only get 3 likes. May get no likes. May only get 3 views. I've had a few of those. Anyway, thank you very much for taking the 7 and a bit minutes to listen to me. If you did listen to me rant and ramble, make sure you drop a subscribe here, click the bell. YouTube's kind of my throwaway place. It's not a throwaway place. I put a lot of effort into YouTube, but no one watches. So I can kind of say and do what I want here, and yeah, maybe something will stick. Maybe it won't. Who knows? Anyway, have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you all soon.